What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Schreckbein, joined today by special guest, good friend, great colleague, incredible Steelers beat reporter, the man, the myth, the legend over at Penn Live, Nick Fairbaugh. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Nick, I ask everybody every day, how you feel, my friend? Thanks for coming on.
I'm feeling good. The sun's out. It's cold, Noah. It's cold, but the snow that we got on Monday's gone. It's nice out. Go for a walk, touch grass, because who needs to wait for Aaron Rodgers any longer, anyways?
We at this point, I said this yesterday. Like, I don't know about you, but we hit certain points of the season or the off season, especially where I call it laptop season or backpack season, where I go everywhere with, like, if I'm in Target, I have a backpack on just because you just never know what's going on. Rodgers season was that season, and we've gone so long that I forget about it. Then I'm like, nothing's gonna happen. And I'm like, they still don't have a quarterback. What do you mean nothing's gonna happen? That's life we're living.
Dude, it literally is. I'm like on edge at all the times. You got the big night out tonight. Is that gonna happen? That's been the rumor for like 3 weeks now. It's like, is it gonna happen? Is it not? And then if it doesn't, when? Like, it's like, oh my goodness.
When do you think, you gotta ask the question, do you think it's coming tonight? Do you think we're getting an announcement at PPG Paints Arena?
I do not. I think my prediction has always been he's going to announce it the week of the draft, like 2 days before the draft, and blow up everyone's draft news cycle when they're writing about Kenneth Grant and Shedeur Sanders and Derek Harmon and Matthew Golden. You were going to have to write about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It's like a Chandon Sullivan, but somebody asked that one time in the chat. They said, what's it like when somebody signs in the middle of a draft? And I use Chandon Sullivan as it is the most chaos you could toss in there. It's complete. It's a hurricane of news, all happening so rapidly, and then you toss massive news on top of it. It just turns into complete chaos. But you might be right. I would say the day before. Do you have a prediction on if he does sign? Because we won't talk too much Aaron Rodgers, but if he does sign, and is the 2 days before the draft your prediction on when it does happen?
Yeah, I think sometime around there. I think he's going to sign the week of the draft. And my entire rationale is the last time he went through this. Do you remember the Jets and the Packers, where it was like the opening of free agency and it was obvious? He went on the McAfee show and was like, I intend to play for the Jets. And then he didn't sign off on the trade until like the day before. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I think he actually signed off on it on that Monday before the draft. He had a press conference the Wednesday before the first round. I could easily see that happening. That's my guess.
I think I sit in the same boat. Do you still believe that there's anything? I mean, I'll ask you. You put it out on Twitter actually a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, something like that. That somebody asked you, why is he waiting? You said attention. Do you feel that way? Do you feel that there's no contemplation anymore?
Oh, that's Aaron Rodgers, man. I mean, Rodgers loves having the limelight on him. He loves being in the limelight. I mean, look at it. Every time the cycle goes down, oh, he visits the Steelers. Oh, there's the DK Metcalf work. Like it's what Aaron Rodgers loves, man. He loves to be in the spotlight. Aaron Rodgers is that type of guy. That's why it's dragging out. It's no other reason. I think he's going to sign with the Steelers. I actually feel very confident about that. But it's all about it, man. And like the thing that has always been interesting that I don't think gets talked about enough is, guys, he set the visit up with the Steelers.
Yes.
He set the workout up with DK Metcalf.
Yes.
The Steelers and Metcalf weren't doing it themselves. Rodgers did it. And so, I mean, it shows interest if he's taking initiative like that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. The fact that you have a cameraman there, or even if it's not his cameraman, somebody he wasn't sitting around going, that guy's not going to post that anywhere. There's no chance that he knew exactly what's happening. I agree with that 100%. I think he's coming. I don't know when. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm telling everybody the same thing every single time, is that we as Pittsburgh Steelers beat writers, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, Pittsburgh Steelers part of the ecosystem, we never in a million years thought this was going to happen. We never in a million years thought we were living the life of Aaron Rodgers, and here we are. And I'm just, the man is an enigma, and I'm enjoying the ride while we have it. I do want to talk Shedeur Sanders here. He came for a visit yesterday. News broke. I mean, not to be that guy, but broke the news, and immediately everybody starts talking about, is it real? Is everything Adam Schefter saying about Shedeur Sanders coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Pittsburgh Steelers having interest in Shedeur Sanders, real? They don't go to Colorado's pro day, or at least Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan and them don't go to Colorado's pro day. So we're all thinking interest is very low. They don't meet at the combine. Maybe it's gone. Then he shows up in Pittsburgh this afternoon, and you're starting to think, well, maybe. What did you take away from Shedeur before we dive too heavy into other reports about it? What was your takeaway? Do you think they have interest in Shedeur Sanders?
I do. I do. I mean, listen, man, it's the same thing with Dart. To me, to Jackson Dart is, they're bringing these guys in so they're educated on this class. Like, they've literally, I think, gone through. If you go through like the Rolodex of the top quarterbacks, I don't think you can look at one outside of Cam Ward they haven't scouted or looked at. And Shedeur was like the last one. He was like, what happened there? And, I mean, I've even talked with people back at the combine. He did have a formal meeting with them. That wasn't talked about at the time, but Shedeur did have a formal with the Steelers at the combine. So there's 2 points of contact here. They scouted him heavily during the college football season as well. And so, I mean, there's interest in Shedeur. I don't think this doesn't like rocket Shedeur to like the most likely pick at 21. I think that's what people are doing now. They're like, yes, he's the pick. Just like they were when Jackson Dart visited last week. It was like, Dart is the pick. I don't think it does anything to do that, but I think it tells you, man, they are really considering a first-round quarterback. It's not like that's Looney Tunes. I think there's been a lot of people that have like shot that idea down. They've been like, they're not taking a first-round quarterback. Look at what happened in 2022. And I mean, the work they put into this quarterback class says that it's definitely a possibility. Doesn't mean it's going to be what happens, but they're definitely interested in Shedeur. It just depends on what they take away from the visit, how he kind of performs there, et cetera, et cetera. But there's points of contact with all these guys.
Yeah, I agree. I said the same thing. I didn't know about the NFL Combine meeting, that's big, to be honest with you. I had no idea that was the case. I looked at it the same way. Is there so much going on with all of these guys right now that it's hard to get a read on it from the outside of what Jackson Dart's actual potential is and what teams actually feel about him. Shedeur Sanders is the same way. And I think that everybody's got questions, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are just looking for answers. They're looking to make sure that in the first round, I think anybody's on the table, to be honest. Like, that's kind of what they're showing, is they have no idea who's going to be there at 21. They have no clue who's going to fall. I don't think any of us do. So they're just making sure they know everybody. And Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart included. Go ahead. I can tell you got thoughts.
So here's the interesting thing. I was looking over the list of visitors that they have so far. We have 25 of the 30 reported visitors. Mm-hmm. They brought in 2 first-round quarterbacks, a first-round running back, a first-round wide receiver, a first-round defensive lineman, a first-round edge rusher, a first-round safety, and a first-round cornerback.
Yes.
Yes. They are all over the map for the first round. And so I think you're right. I think, I'm sure in the next week or so, we're probably going to add, Kenneth Grant to that list, and maybe a Jahdae Barron or someone like that. We're just going to pepper the entire market. Maybe a Emeka Egbuka, Luther Burden, someone like that's going to get added. And you just don't know where they're going to go in the first round. It's crazy. This is the most open it's been in a long time, because this is a very unpredictable draft, Noah, just because there's not really a lot of bona fide first rounders. Like, it's going to be crazy. You're going to see guys that are probably predicted to go lower, go higher. Once you get outside of 15, it really becomes the Wild West. Who knows what happens, honestly, in this draft.
I agree. And that's exactly how I view this. Is if 21 shows, Mel Kiper's draft the other day had everybody. Literally anybody that we've talked about at the Steelers was available at 21 and went well beyond them. And I don't think that's a likely possibility. That draft was, take it as you will. But I think that's exactly what the Steelers are doing, is they're just looking at it going, well, we'll figure it out when we get there. When it comes to the quarterback position, I think they're doing a little bit of everything. Like, you bring in Jackson Dart, you bring in Shedeur Sanders. Again, there are questions about both of them. I looked at Shedeur and said the question about him is, you got to bring him to Pittsburgh because you have to understand if the outside noise is too loud for who he is as a player, and if everything else matches. Because I don't really get the like arrogant, brash reports that came out from the anonymous NFL executives. Like, maybe. I don't think Mike Tomlin looks at anybody as arrogant or brash. He's just like, yeah, I can handle that. That's no big deal. They need to understand more of that. I think with Jackson Dart, they need to somewhat convince themselves that he's a first-round talent and move him into that category. I agree with it. So let me ask the big question because, well, Ian Rappaport gave it to us earlier. He said, quote, "I don't think that this is a message to Aaron Rodgers. The Steelers don't need to do that. But if it was, I would say the message is you are now on the clock because the Steelers have been very patient with Rodgers. Free agency was 1,000 years ago. It was so freaking long." He just continued to go on like that. All right. On the clock with Aaron Rodgers. Did you take it as a message to Aaron Rodgers in any way? And at the same time, do you think there's a possibility, a world out there where the Steelers could end up with Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders? Because that's the question everybody wants answered.
I legitimately do not think Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers' draft moves quarterback have anything to do with each other. I'm completely serious with that. Look at what they did on the pro day circuit and who they visited with the Milrow, Howard, Ewers, Leonard, and then coming with Shuck, Dart, and Sanders. Guys, they're just straight up interested in drafting a quarterback. I don't think it would have mattered if Justin Fields or Sam Darnold had been here. Because remember, the reason Fields and Darnold didn't sign with the Steelers, at least in part, was they wouldn't commit to them being the guy beyond this year. And I think that is showcasing something that is saying the draft is a significant part of what the Steelers want to do. Now, it doesn't mean first-round pick. Could mean a mid-round pick. But the fact that the Steelers have not given anyone that light, saying we are going to give you 25 and 26, tells you something about how they view this. And so the Steelers can absolutely end up with Aaron Rodgers and Shedeur Sanders. I don't think that's a crazy thought at all. I don't think it's a crazy thought to think they could take Aaron Rodgers and then draft Will Howard or someone like that. I think all of that's in play. And so I don't think there's any message being sent to Aaron Rodgers. I think they made it pretty abundantly clear last week they don't care about the timeline for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I don't think Mike Tomlin could be any more nonchalant than he was. Noah, you and I were there. That guy was sitting back cool, smirking about it. He knows something. He knows something about this. I think, I very much have been of the belief that they are very confident in Aaron Rodgers signing. And I don't think that really anything with the draft is affected by Rodgers signing. It doesn't preclude them from doing anything because I think when they sign him, it's going to be for a 1-year deal. So I don't think that they have anything to do with one another, to be quite honest with you.
I agree. I definitely agree. I mean, you got to look at Aaron Rodgers and say, even if they ended up with Shedeur Sanders, which, whatever, or Jackson Dart or anybody, I think outside of Cam Ward, which they have actually 0% chance of getting, Aaron Rodgers is the guy, the starter in 2025, and they want that to happen. Like, they're more than okay with ending up with the problem of too many quarterbacks that turn out to be quality options. They always want that problem. And I agree with you. I 100% believe that they know that he's coming and it's not changing anything. And they're just looking at it going, okay, maybe Shedeur does end up with us. Maybe Jackson Dart is the best player on the board. Maybe Tyler Shuck or Jalen Milrow could be there. Any of those names. I agree. Do you think the other way around, Shedeur can coexist with Aaron Rodgers?
I do. Listen, everything I've heard, everyone talks about Shedeur because Dion kind of, in the media, Dion is very, very vocal about Shedeur and even Travis Hunter. And everyone kind of projects that onto Shedeur. Shedeur's just really confident. Is he a little cocky? Maybe. But listen, every good quarterback believes they're God in some way. I'm not even kidding. They have this kind of complex, man, that they think that they are that guy. And so Shedeur just has that mentality. And this goes back to Mike Tomlin saying, I'd rather say woe than sick 'em. And I love that Tomlinism because Shedeur's confidence is a big plus to me in terms of what he brings. I don't think he's brash. Everything I've heard from scouts and people that talk to him say that he's awesome. He's a high character kid. He does great on the whiteboard when they put him there. When he's watching film, he's a very smart player. So I don't think that there's any issue coexisting. And we've seen Aaron Rodgers coexist with a young quarterback before. He literally mentored Jordan Love. I mean, that is the other thing is he's mentored a young quarterback before, and obviously that did end up becoming a really good thing because you watch Jordan Love weekly. If you watch a Packers game, man, there's Rodgers tendencies in there. Like he taught Jordan Love some of the secret sauce that he does, and so I think anyone with Aaron Rodgers as a mentor for the Steelers, it's not a bad thing. Aaron Rodgers has showcased the ability to mentor their quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, and I do think they'd be able to coexist with one another.
Yeah, I agree. I think if Aaron Rodgers signed 4.5 weeks ago at this point, everybody would be so excited to draft a quarterback and allow him to be that guy. I think obviously the drama that has unfolded since has lessened that and kind of clogged everybody's memory of the Jordan Love situation. But I agree. I've heard great things about both sides. I'm not real into the brash or the arrogant stuff, especially in Pittsburgh. I think they'll be totally fine. Let's talk another position, and that's the first round and all of them that are available. We just went through, you just named 40 prospects that could potentially be there for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I'm going to ask you, I mean, everybody's heard my voice for months now talking about names like Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, Emeka Ibuka, so on and so forth. We are 17 days out from the NFL draft, 16 days out from the NFL draft. Who is your favorite first round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Ideally, in a realistic world, who do the Pittsburgh Steelers end up with? Who are your top options for the Steelers at the same time?
Yeah, my top options consist of a few names you probably heard of. Derek Harmon is one of my top options. I love that guy's game. He reminds me a lot of Stephon Tuitt. He's just a ball of muscle, man. He's so powerful. He's so explosive. I love his game. I like Kenneth Grant. I like his ability to be that 2-down nose, but also have that pass rushing 3-tech archetype to him. Reminds me a ton of DJ Reader. I really see his game developing into a really good pass rusher that can play inside and out. So I like him. I am a huge fan of Matthew Golden. I really am. I think, a lot of people when he visited thought, oh man, this guy, had this really late ascent because he had a great college football playoff. And then you look at the tape, man, he's routing guys up. He's becoming this quick separator. He's just a different archetype from what they have in that room. He can route you up from the slot. He can route you up from the Z. He's physical in the run game, and he tries. He doesn't really lollygag. I love his game. He is one of my favorite receiver prospects. I think he would be a great pick. And then the fourth guy that I don't think a lot of people kind of put in seriously, but I love Jahdae Barron. I do love Jahdae Barron's game. I think he can have a Brian Branch, Cooper DeJean-like impact in your slot position on day one. And then next year, if you have Darius Slay leave, which is what is expected probably, I think you can pop him out outside and be completely comfortable with him and Joey Porter Jr. as your two guys. I think my top option right now, personally, I'm a big Derek Harmon guy. I like Harmon the best out of the D-line guys. I like him more than Grant and Nolan. I don't think that's a very common opinion. I think a lot of people like Nolan or Grant more than Harmon, but I love what he brings to the table. But those are probably my four guys. But there's a lot of different options you can really talk yourself into. Ibuka is a completely good pick. Nolan is a high upside, but really boom or bust type of pick. But man, if he hits, he's a superstar. And then you can kind of talk yourself into some other guys that are really in there, Luther Burden. If you can get a guy that falls, is there a wild card like Tedero McMillan or Will Johnson that falls? I don't know. I don't really see that happening, but there's a lot of options for the Steelers. But those are kind of my top four that I look at personally.
Yeah, that's Derek Harmon as your top guy, I think, is a bit surprising. You don't hear that very often throughout this draft cycle. I love Kenneth Grant. I mean, I like Derek Harmon too. I like Walter Nolan as well. I think I agree with you. Walter Nolan's the biggest boomer bust out of all three of them. But I'm a big Kenneth Grant. I'm also a big Derek Harmon guy. I think that's the right way to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, if this draft falls the way we expect it to, one of those guys should be there. And you got to hope one of those guys are there. And I think that's the best way to go about it. Because even if you're looking quarterback next year, even if you're thinking you don't know what's going to happen with George Pickens or Darius Slay, in a year, or you're thinking there are questions with Broderick Jones, I look at it and go, you could replace Cam Hayward in a year. You replace Keanu Benton or Larry Ogunjobi, whoever, depending on who you pick. Right now, you add a piece to your defensive line. Like, the most overlooked problem in the Steelers defense last year was how bad their run game was at times. And that's been the case for years, is they do great and then they disappear and they can't stop anybody. And to bring in a guy like either of them, you're fixing a hole that you haven't talked about and maybe have overlooked for quite some time because of Larry Ogunjobi, who doesn't really excel there, and not having a true nose tackle. I think that's the way to go. I'm all about Matthew Golden. Luther Burden, I have more questions about. Emeka Ibuka, you're going Matthew Golden over Emeka Ibuka.
I am. My hot take is I like Matthew Golden more than Emeka Ibuka, Luther Burden, and Tedero McMillan.
Oh, okay. Why?
He's my wide receiver 2, only behind Travis Hunter. Man, I love Matthew Golden's game. If you can watch how this guy runs routes, if you watch how he separates, it's so translatable from all different parts of the field. He's got a very wide route tree. He's got an ability to go up and win. He wins above the rim still. He's not like the biggest, most physically imposing dude, but man, he's like a go ball guy that he can go up and get it still. He's just a really solid, well-rounded prospect. You look at his game, man, it reminds you a lot of some of the best route runners in the league right now. He's just a fun player, and I think he's a ceiling play. I think the floor is a little lower than, say, someone like Ibuka, right? Ibuka is really this high floor, super safe guy. Ibuka is going to get you 900, 1,000, 100, that type of kind of production. He's going to hover around that. He's going to be such a safe player. Reminds me a lot of Robert Woods. Burden is kind of this up and down roller coaster that's really fun, and I think is actually play outside and in the slot. A lot of people don't think that, but I think he could. But Golden is this separator that I just don't think there's a lot of that in this class. I love Matthew Golden's game. He's an all-around type of player. A lot of people will point to him coming on late and saying he's just a 3-game sensation, but you watch his tape throughout the season, and he's doing the same things, just wasn't seeing the football. But this guy, it can be an alpha type of wide receiver. He's a really good player. Reminds me a ton, and I'll give you a Steelers comp for him because I really think he reminds me a lot of this guy, Santonio Holmes. He really does. You watch his game, there's a lot of Santonio Holmes in his game. And the other thing about, his routes is when he catches the ball, he's already looking to make plays after the play. He's got this great yak ability to go out and make plays in the open field too. So I love Matthew Golden. He's super fun to me. I think he's my wide receiver too. If I were the Steelers, I mean, you can put him in with George Pickens and DK Metcalf and have a explosive 4 up there, because you can have Calvin Austin in there as well. It would be a really fun wide receiving course. So I'm just way higher on Matthew Golden. I think another guy that would share the opinion with me, I think Derek Bell is very much in the realm of thinking that Matthew Golden is a wide receiver 2. So that's where I'm at with him. But man, I love Matthew Golden's game. What a fun player.
That's crazy. All right. I love the take. I definitely love the take. Shout out to, I listen to anything DP says, honestly. Like, you know what I mean? He says, if he said the sky on draft day was purple, I'd be like, you know what? You're probably right, dude. I mean, if anybody's going to know, it's you. I like Matthew Golden. I'm a big Emeka Ibuka guy as well. Like, I think both of them are great. Are you under the assumption, because obviously Golden's a name to watch here in the first round, are you under the assumption that GP is here this season and that they're looking long term? Are you still thinking GP could be here long term? What's your thoughts there?
I don't really think they're going to extend him, and I don't think he's in their plans necessarily past this year. I don't think they're going to trade him. I don't really get that inclination. Everyone I've talked to says they're not trying to trade him. Now, the wild card I always tell people with this is the Steelers don't plan to trade him, but what does GP want to do? Because
thank you.
Listen, man, GP's probably going to want to get paid. He's probably going to want to get paid. And I don't think the Steelers are going to want to pay him this offseason. And I don't know what the reaction to that's going to be. It could be trade. Like, it could be. And so I don't think that's crazy to think.
I agree. I try to warn everybody every time I have this conversation the Pittsburgh Steelers want George Pickens to be humble and great and walk into the door and be like, you know what? I'm glad that you paid DK before me. That sounds awesome. I'm here to stay, but that's probably not going to happen. I don't think that's going to go as swimmingly as everybody hopes it does. And once it doesn't, that's when decisions are made. None of this is made in April. He's not getting traded on draft night unless they already know something or they get an offer that they just can't refuse. And I don't think either of those are going to happen. I'm thinking June, July is when things become a little bit concerning on the George Pickens front. I agree with you, though. I don't think if I had to guess today, I would say there's a better chance he's here than he's gone, but that could change in a heartbeat the second that he doesn't show up to minicamp because he's not under contract.
Yeah, I have thought if there's maybe a resolution there. I very much think he's going to play the Brandon Ayuk playbook. I think he's going to do that. He's going to hold in. I don't know if he's going to do the theatrics Brandon Ayuk did, but I do think he's going to hold in. More like Deontay Johnson probably in that regard. But one thing I have thought about, if maybe there's a short-term kind of idea here where maybe the Steelers up his money this year and then maybe add a year on. So it's like a 1-year extension essentially. Now, I'm not sure why Pickens would do that, to be quite honest with you, but if he just wants to get paid and the Steelers, want that security of him being here, I could see like a mini extension being done to kind of bridge that. And of course, if he is, if what we say happens and he's kind of just humble and he comes in, works really hard and you see this kind of new leaf overturned. I mean, very, very real chance the Steelers will tag him and try to work him into their long-term plans there. But I also think they have to plan for contingencies with regards to him right now. But I agree. I think he's more than likely on the roster, but it's not because the Steelers want to trade him. They don't want to trade him. It's going to be how he reacts to he's not going to get paid. DK got 30 million a year, et cetera, et cetera. All that's going to be the question.
I agree. All right. Last thing on the docket I got for you here. Pittsburgh Steelers 2025 NFL draft. I'm not talking first round. I'm talking all the rounds. You got to have names. I know you have names. You probably have too many names, but I'm going to ask you for at least one. Who's your under the radar? We got to start talking about this guy pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers, prospect for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2025 draft.
Man, I could name you them by position.
I know you could. I know.
I'll give you a few, but I'll give you one that I really think people need to start talking about. And he's a DB out of Tulane. His name's Caleb Ransaw. This guy's really fun. He can play outside. He can play box safety. He can play slot corner. The Steelers love themselves some late-round versatile defensive backs. If you look at how they've drafted before. I mean, Tulane asked this guy to do everything from box safety slot to outside to even playing inside linebacker at times. He's an absolute dog in the run game. He's really athletic. He's a ball magnet. I mean, he's just a really fun player. I think he could really fit well into the Steelers' idea of what their slot is. I think, you can easily see Beanie Bishop kind of being the pass down guy, and then Ransaw coming in and being the rundown guy that, the blitzes and all that. I think he's a really fun player. There's just a bunch of players I could name, man. Running back, I wish we heard more people talking about Damian Martinez. I think he's a lot for them. At wide receiver, I'll throw in Ricky White out of UNLV. Man, what a fun player he is. He'll be a 10-year player just off special teams, but he's blazing fast, can win down the field. He's a vertical threat. He fits what the Steelers do offensively. And then I'll throw you one that I don't think people are talking about enough at the two positions everyone thinks about with the Steelers, which is defensive line and quarterback. Defensive line, this guy actually visited the Steelers and I think is way better than what people think. Jamari Caldwell, I love this guy's game. He's a great nose tackle, could be a run plugger for them. He actually played nose this year because Harmon came in to the defense, but he has played 3 and 5 before and actually has been productive there. He's got more pass rush juice than you think. So he's a really fun player. I like Jamari Caldwell a lot. And then I'll give you a quarterback, okay? I'm going to give you an under-the-radar quarterback, Max Brosmer out of Minnesota. This guy is the complete opposite of what Mike Tomlin describes when he talks about mobility. Complete statue. But, man, he goes through his reads. He's really, really good throwing with anticipation. He hits the right guy often. He's got a good arm. Like the arm has juice, and he can really cork that thing. He's got some accuracy issues down the field, but the intermediate part of the field, if you want to hit slants, digs, things that really work in the Arthur Smith kind of branch of this, man, he fits in well, and he probably would only cost you a 6th-round pick. He's a really fun player. So those are just a few guys, but just wanted to name you. But the guy I really want you guys to start knowing that's going to be there in round 5 or 6, Caleb Ransaw. Just turn on the tape. It's fun.
I agree. I love that. I love that. I'm a big Damian Martinez guy. I don't think they're going to get a shot at Trey Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, or Caleb Johnson. I would reach on Martinez. If he's there in the 3rd and you're feeling pretty confident that he's not going to be there in the 4th, I'd take him in the 3rd, and I'd be pretty okay with it. I think it's a stretch. Like I think he's a 4th-round pick, but I think he's good enough to take in the 3rd and feel pretty comfortable to go get your running back. Everybody wants to talk like they need a bruiser, they need a heavier back. That's it. That's her answer. He's got speed. He's got power. He's got explosiveness. Damian Martinez is my guy. Let me toss you a 1st-round name here to see if you would add him to your list. Gray Zabel. I love Gray Zabel. I think he's a stud. I think he fits perfectly with what the Steelers are looking for right now because they need competition for Broderick Jones, but they also need somebody to potentially play guard once Isaac Seumalo leaves in a year. I think he's got everything you're looking for. Obviously, a small school kid. Mason McCormick looked pretty okay for a stretch last year. And then the other one I got is, I believe, if I'm saying this name right, Jackson Slater out of Sacramento State. That guy's got some of the best tape I have ever seen. He's electric as an offensive lineman. Either of those guys tickle your fancy a little bit in this draft.
I mean, I like them. I just can't see them spend a first round pick on an interior lineman. I can't.
No.
I like Ray Zabel, but 21 even, to me kind of feels a little rich for him. There's a few guys on this. I like Jackson Slater. If you can get him in like the 5th round, I think that's a home run pick for you. I think he's got starting upside. I mean, there's a lot of McCormick there where you're talking about, the small school guy that's probably better than what he's going to be drafted at. So I really like Jackson Slater. The other small school guy that the Steelers were shown in, and how about the Mike Tomlin alma mater? How about Charles Grant, man? He's fun. His tape's really fun. He's super athletic. He fits what they do as a wide zone team. He needs a year of seasoning, but he would get that here, right? He wouldn't have to start right away. He could step in. Broderick Jones is a dud, or Troy Fautanu is a dud. He could step in at either spot next year and really, really be a solid player. So those are kind of three guys at the offensive line. Oh, and then I'll give you another one that I don't know why he's not getting any hype, because he was at Iowa State. Jalen Travis out of Iowa State. I don't know why.
Yes.
Why is this guy not getting hype? He's nasty. He's mean. He's going to outplay his draft position. He's probably going to be a day 3 pick. I don't know why he's not a day 2 player.
I agree. I think that they're talking about all of the Ohio State guys that are being talked about on that offensive line. He's being overlooked every time. And I'm looking at it going, why are we just not including him in the mix? Like, I'm not trying to pull back on anybody else, but why not? Why is he the lesser of the group? That group was fantastic. Why did we not? Why is everybody just not all about all 5 of them? I think there's only 3 of them in this year's draft, but the 3 of them that have come out, why are they not all about? I agree with you. I'm not out on offensive linemen anywhere in the draft. I think it's not super high on their priority list, but I think there's some good ones, and they got to think about it just a little bit. I think they put the pieces together to grow and give yourself an opportunity, but I think a little bit that's got to be in the back of their head. All right. We like to finish off the show by going to the people. Everybody who's tuning in, we're going to finish this off by answering everybody's questions. So toss them in the chat. If you got them, we'll get to as many of them as we possibly can. Once again, give my boy Nick Fairbaugh a follow anywhere. Go check out his work at Penn Live. Well, I'll give you your Twitter information and stuff at the end, but for right now, I got to give you your shout outs. The best hair in the game. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. And with that said, let's kick it off. All right. Stephen Cornfield here. So fun fact, Stephen Cornfield is the greatest UPS driver in the world, just in case you didn't know. Welcome to the AST family. Nick, welcome to the fam. Shout out to Stephen. I know that you asked earlier if Nick is here to stay. Everybody's worried about Nick Belsky hitting the road for for Pittsburgh. I forget. I'm blanking on the name. No, Nick will be popping in and out every once in a while, but he's got his own stuff going on over at good old Penn Live. He's keeping competition hot over there, which is a good time. And shout out to our boy Carl Spackler for gifting an all Steelers Talk membership. All right, let's dive into it. Madeline, hey, what's more likely, trading for Shedeur or Jackson Dart? What would make more sense? Nick, I'll let you answer that. Would you trade up for either of them in this year's draft?
I wouldn't. But I'm interested to kind of look into that. I think it's Shedeur. I have kind of heard throughout the process they're a little cooler on Dart.
Yes.
Not that they're like low on him, but I don't think they're viewing him as a bona fide pick at 21. And so I think Shedeur would be the answer there. I think he also is just a safer player. He's a really high floor player. He's accurate. He will give them what they want. If they want a high floor type of player that can be, one of those middle of the road starters in the NFL, I think Shedeur projects as that. I think Dart has a lot more variance in his kind of outcomes.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I'm trading up for either of them. I think Shedeur is the only one that I'd have an argument to make as a first round pick. Even out of the two, I'm not real sold on Jackson Dart in the first round, especially in the Steelers position where you're probably going to get Aaron Rodgers. Just like you said, he's got a lot. I think if everything hits, he's got upside that we don't see right now in Jackson Dart. But I also think that it's a much riskier pick than Shedeur Sanders. Shout out to Nate Moore. Noah, if Shedeur falls past the Saints, who else is a threat to take him before the Steelers? Later teams might trade up. I think it's just the Saints. After New Orleans, I don't see anybody who could get in the Steelers' way unless they move above 21, right?
Maybe the Colts, I think.
Maybe.
But I do actually agree. I think the Browns and the Giants trading back up into the first round to hop the Steelers is interesting because one of those teams could very easily, and if I were the GM of the Browns or the Giants, I would take Travis Hunter, and then I would try and trade up for Shedeur Sanders if he fell that far. Specifically, I think the Giants are very much in a mode where they could do that.
Yes.
And so I look at them and say, I think the Giants are probably the biggest threat, even though they're not on that list. I think them trading up with the Broncos, and I think the Broncos are a team primed to trading back.
Yep.
They don't really have a obvious need that they have to fill right away. So I think the Giants in a trade-up scenario are definitely a threatening team.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that there's any chance the Steelers, if they caught wind, would try to go up to 19?
I think that's a possibility. I mean, I don't think you can rule that out, right? If you hear that one of those teams is trying to come up and you really love Shedeur, now you got to love Shedeur to do this because it's just limited capital already. But I think it would definitely be a thought if I were Pittsburgh, because if you want that guy and you think he could be your quarterback of the future, you got to get him. You got to get him no matter what.
I agree. I would say that that's in the realm of the. I'm not thinking they trade up just to trade up, but the second that Omar catches wind that somebody else is, I think that's when the clock starts ticking for them to potentially make a move for a quarterback. All right, this one's a good one for you. Screw all this draft Milrow and wait 2 years for DJ Lagway. What do you know about DJ Lagway?
Listen, I can't say I've studied DJ Lagway's tape super in depth, but I really do like DJ Lagway from the live games I've seen. So if you put like everybody into a pool, just the 25 class or the 27 class, I think Lagway would have a shot going first overall just based on the limited tape I've seen. So he's really fun. Really fun. Yeah. Probably a future number 1 overall pick if he keeps it up.
Pittsburgh's not going to get that, unfortunately. All right. Marlon Lewis here. No, if Rodgers doesn't come to the Steelers, do you think they could give the job to a rookie, similar to how the Broncos gave Bo Nix the job? Do you think Mason's the backup plan in Pittsburgh right now?
I think that even if Rodgers wouldn't come, I think they would at least explore Kirk Cousins trade. I think they might look in. I don't know if they would sign Flacco or Wentz, but I think that they would at least look into that idea. So I don't think it would suddenly 100% go to a rookie, but I definitely think if they drafted Shedeur or Dart or someone like that in the first round and Rodgers didn't come, I think they would have a much better shot at starting. But I also think there's a reason they signed Mason Rudolph, which is so it's not a complete calamity. So yeah, I do think if they didn't land Rodgers, I think if they drafted a rookie early, specifically in the first round, they would have a chance. But a mid-round rookie, I mean, good luck. If it's if the QB room is like Flacco, Rudolph, and like Will Howard, I don't know what I would even predict. Probably Mason at that point, but what a wild scenario.
Oh, it'd be awful. Is that a worse quarterback room than Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Kenny Pickett?
No, it's not. It's not. 100% not. No.
That's awful. All right, from one Nick to the other, and it's great to hear from him. The flow is glorious. Fairboss, shout out our boy. We miss you every day. Good old producer Nick Arbelski. I hope you're doing good, my friend. Everybody saw you. What's the chances they get Will Johnson? Scale 1 to 10. What are the chances Will Johnson falls to 21?
2. I think he's the second corner off the board. I don't really think there's a very good chance he falls, to be quite honest with you. There's too many corner needy teams in this class. I get it. There's issues with Will Johnson. Like, he didn't have the best tape of his career this year, but he's still a ball hawk. The pedigree's there. Some team's going to take Will Johnson early.
I agree.
It's classic prospect fatigue. Everyone's known Will Johnson's been a stud since his freshman year at Michigan, and now he's come up. Everyone's like, oh, I wonder what's happening. Remember Kyle Hamilton? When he
do you remember Derek Stingley? Derek Stingley was the greatest player ever, and I was like, I don't know, man. He hasn't done anything in like 2 years. Like, it doesn't matter. He's gonna be good. That's 100%. That's Will Johnson. I think if the Steelers, he's on a short list to me, where if you get to 15 plus, the Steelers would actually consider saying, all right, screw it, we got to do something for him. Like, he's on a really small list.
Dude, if he got to 21, I don't think you could write the card fast enough for them to send in. It would absolutely, they would sprint to the podium to go get Will Johnson.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right, Stephen Cornfield here. 2 questions. We answered the first one. What brings Nick to the show? He's staying. He is not. He's just here to chill. We're gonna get some guests on. We had to start out with the GOAT though. Second, Noah, have you heard about Big Ben's new conspiracy? Another team's quarterback hurt, not being reported, being a secret landing spot. Have you heard Big Ben's
No,
conspiracy theory here. I have not.
I've not. Ben did
Is it
release
about?
a podcast with Pat McAfee today. Maybe he was there. I saw him saying that that Rodgers was trying to wait out the Vikings. I saw
Yeah,
that.
I saw that as well. I don't know if there's anybody else out there. I'll say this: I think Ben's guessing. I think we're all guessing at this point. Anybody sitting around going, "I know what Aaron Rodgers is doing." You don't. Yeah, nobody does. So we'll wait it out. And I have not heard that. I do have to watch that thing. Are you going to the big night out tonight? It's a good question.
I'm
No,
not. I'll be watching it from afar.
Me too. Me too. Hoping, staying up every moment, saying, "Is it going to happen?" Only for it not to happen. Our boy Mark Caboli won't be there either, that's dreadful. To be
I mean,
honest,
there's no Kabali dunk tank gonna happen.
there should be a Cabali dunk tank. That would be so awesome. Actually, that would be so perfect. All right, unlimited moonball. Fairbaugh's hair. Our Fairbaugh looks like Jack Black and Zach Galifianakis had a baby. That's because stud. That's because stud right there. 100%. All right, let's keep it trucking here. Any chance the Steelers trade back to get a second round pick? I've been asked this quite a bit. I'll ask you because I think Omar Khan kind of unpromptedly let us know that's a possibility for the first time in a long time. Because historically the Steelers don't do that, and this is the first year where it might make sense depending on how the board falls. I think Omar Khan, this is the first time he's going to get an opportunity to see that happen and see it play out where that could become a possibility. Do you think it is an option for the Steelers? Do you think it's a likely option for the Steelers?
I do actually. I think they want. I think at least there's a want to do that. I think it is eating at them a little bit to not have that second round pick, because listen, I don't love mocks, but you do mocks and you always leave off like one need, and you're like, oh, I wish I had another pick. And I think the Steelers do wish that they had another pick. And so I think it's definitely possible. And you look at the guys they visited with. I mean, a lot of these guys, some of them like Jaden Higgins and Caleb Johnson just feel like they're kind of stuck in between, right? It's stuck in between 21 and 83. Don't really feel like they're going to make it there. And so I do think a trade back scenario is really interesting for the Steelers. But, and this is what I've always told people when they ask me this, what is the scenario where a team comes up to 21? I don't know if there's an obvious scenario for that. Because you think about it, and I guess the one that maybe makes sense to me is maybe you have a receiver, because the Chargers are a very needy receiver team. Maybe you have a team that comes up and wants to get a Golden or Igbuka or something. But if I'm the Steelers, I would just sit there and maybe take Igbuka or Golden. And, and the thing is, if you're saying, well, the quarterbacks, right? Okay, maybe a team wants to come up for Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart, and the Steelers don't want to take them. Well, why would they trade up at that point? Because the team to trade up in front of is the Steelers. So it doesn't really make it's going to be tough for them to find a scenario, in my opinion, where the trade back makes sense, because I think if you have a team wanting to trade for a higher prospect that's a really good player, I just think a lot of those players you look at are players the Steelers are just going to sit at 21 and take. That's the tough thing. So I don't know. I think they would love to trade back. I just think it's hard to find a scenario where the trade back is going to happen.
I agree. I think the best shot that they have is a Chiefs going up to get Xavier Worthy situation, where it's just like some team that you didn't see coming is like, all right, I want this guy. We're going to go get him. I don't think you could sit here today and say that makes sense in any scenario. It would have to be somewhat of a random circumstance to say, all right, there it is. It happened, because just like you said, there's no position to sit here and say that makes too much sense where we sit right now. All right, we do this fun start, trade, bench, start, trade, cut all the time. And shout out to I'm MF Tired. Start, trade, cut, Brandon Ayuk saga, Aaron Rodgers saga, or the Le'Veon Bell holdout saga. Go ahead. I'll toss this one to you.
Okay. Are we doing the start, trade, cut by how annoying they were? How much we remember them?
Let's go. Let's go. Level of craziness. That's a good one. Level of craziness in the situation. Start, trade, cut. You start the highest.
Okay. Well, I don't think Brandon Ayuk or Aaron Rodgers have been spotted on a jet ski saying "pay me," so that has.
They also haven't released a rap album dissing the city of Pittsburgh.
Correct, but also Brandon Ayuk literally tortured Kyle Shanahan every day, for 2 months, which is crazy. I actually, I'm going to do the start and level of craziness. I am going to put Brandon Ayuk because I think what he did was so annoying daily to John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. We have never seen a player literally do that. He did it so well that even
Yes.
after paying him, they still don't like him.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
that is what Brandon Ayuk did. So that's the level of craziness. I'll go to 1 there. I'll go 2 with Bell, and then I'll cut Aaron Rodgers. The reason I cut Aaron Rodgers because this is just Aaron Rodgers.
This is
what he does. But Bell was crazy in a few different ways. But Ayuk actually did such a good job of annoying and bullying a team into giving him a $30 million per year contract. They hate him for it still.
Yes. He's
That's
still
impressive.
This guy signed $30 million a year, tore his ACL, and is still on the trade block. He's still on the trade block. It is
crazy. Like, dude, I can't tell you how many videos, how many times this guy just showed up at practice. He's handshaking Deebo Samuel. He's talking with Kyle. He's storming off the field. He's doing this. He's doing that. One of the absolute craziest contract sagas in NFL recent memory. I mean, this guy did the hold in like it should be done. You don't just hold in and show up to meetings and shut up and work off to the side. You go in there and annoy them every single day until they give you a contract or they trade you to the destination. Brandon Ayuk is absolutely the starter here because
he is the master of the hold in. He is the master of the hold. He mastered the hold in. And I will say, I think Aaron Rodgers has a strong argument if he goes into a darkness retreat the day before the NFL draft. At that moment, I think things have crossed into this is absurd. We've gone too far. Yeah.
He hasn't done anything crazy enough. He's just kind of not said anything. It's
I mean, him leaving the facility in the hat and hiding in the car. It was borderline. It was borderline. Do we think that you are supposed to be somebody else? We all are aware of what's going on. But again, shout out Aaron Rodgers. We'll see him in a couple of months. All right. Shout out our boy Cody Silva. Noah, you're the man. What's up, new guy? Apparently you're a new guy. This is Nick Farabaugh. For anybody who doesn't know, go check out his work at PennLive.com. Joe Fitz here. Jackson Dart will be a bust. Are you down on Jack? Yeah, you got a smile on your face like you are.
I'm not a big fan of Jackson Dart's game. I'm not. I do think he's very much one read in terms of his mental makeup. I think, he's athletic, but even out of structure, he's kind of erratic in his decision making and accuracy. He's got average tools. Like the arm isn't huge. There's just I don't really understand what makes Jackson Dart a first round quarterback. He's tough. He's got moxie. He sticks it in there, but even the pocket management, he runs into sacks at times. There's a lot of issues with Jackson Dart's game, and he doesn't play like he plays in that spread type of offense that Lane Kiffin runs, and there's just not a lot of NFL quality reps where he used to go 1, 2, 3. Like like a real quarterback. I want to see this man hit 1, 2, 3 and hit a backside dig. Like that's what I want to see from Jackson Dart. It's just not on his tape. And so I think there's things to like about Dart, but when he was a third rounder, I liked Dart. I was like, yes, this guy's got an interesting blend of traits that you can tuck yourself into in the third round. But in the first round, I think it's absolutely crazy. I think the whole debate that was going on yesterday of if they're both there, Shedeur or Dart, who should the Steelers take is absolutely crazy. Like I think Shedeur is in a different atmosphere of prospect compared to Jackson Dart.
I 100% agree. Shedeur outside of Cam Ward is the only guy you could talk me into in the first round at quarterback. Jackson Dart I'd take in the third and feel comfortable, but to be honest with you, I'd go Jalen Milroe first because at least he's got some upside that you're looking at going. I mean, who knows? Worst case scenario, put him at fullback. He'll be just fine, And I'm not a Jackson Dart guy. I haven't been a Jackson Dart guy. I don't think you could talk me into him. Cody Silva, hey Nick, are we keeping George Pickens long term? We touched on this a little bit, but I'll have you run through it again. You're not thinking. Let me resurface the question here. What would it take to trade George Pickens during the draft?
I think it would either take a trade request from GP before the draft where he gets known, like the Steelers let him know, like, hey man, you're not getting paid. And he's like, okay, trade me. And then they would maybe explore that. Or it would have to be an offer that would blow them away. And I don't even think a late second is really an offer that would blow them away.
No.
I think it would have to be a team at that upper part of the second round. It's sneaking to the late first. If the Chiefs offer your first round pick for him, you would take it. I don't think that they'll get an offer like that. And so I think one of those two things would have to happen. But I really think the Steelers right now, their plan is to go full steam ahead. George Pickens and DK Metcalf. Let's see how it goes.
See how it goes. I agree with you. I think they'd have to get a late first, early second round pick. New England's a team that I think could make an offer if they just are saying, okay, there's nobody else on the board and we need somebody for Drake May. Although GP and Stephon Diggs would be an adventurous time, especially for a second-year quarterback in Drake May. But I agree. You got to go late first, early second. I don't think they're going to get either of them. I think GP is here until GP doesn't want to be here. Heath Miles here, 10-7 with Mason or 10-7 with Rodgers. I think both are realistic. You save millions and drama. Do you think is the ceiling, essentially what the question is the ceiling different with Mason Rudolph than it would be Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, I think Rodgers has a game or two up on the ceiling part of it.
A game or two, just a game or two.
I mean, I don't think it's significant. I mean, you watch Rodgers' tape from last year. He is a very diminished version of what he once was in his prime. And listen, I can see Mason just having a lot of things go his way. He doesn't turn the ball over. Like, he can game manage his way to wins. And so that's really what you have to do. I mean, you can game manage your way. I mean, they went 10-7 with Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, and Mason Rudolph. So, yeah, Mason is a starter full-time, I think, can do it. I do think 10-7 with Mason is actually a better outcome, and it has nothing to do with the quarterback position whatsoever, because I think 10-7 with Mason implies that the rest of the team took steps forward, personally to me, right? You got, Keanu Benton and Joey Porter Jr. having breakout years. You had Broderick Jones and Fautanu really snap into it and look like your tackle duo of the future. Your rookie class is strong. The Metcalf trade worked out really well. I just think if you go 10-7 with Mason Rudolph, if you started for 17 games, I think you had a lot of good things happen to your team overall, and a lot of things are looking up in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. I want to say, and I continue to say, like, Aaron Rodgers, if he pulls one out of his ass, could win a Super Bowl. Like, he could be the piece for the Steelers that gets them over a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen. But you're taking a shot, like, and it's not a shot I'd bank on. It's not something I'd say I would bet this happens. And I agree with you when it comes to Mason. I say constantly, like, the Steelers kind of lucked out with the Mason Rudolph thing. If he does end up being their starter, which I'm not totally sold he's going to be, but if he does, everybody wanted him to stay last year. But the better option was Russell Wilson and Justin Fields by a mile. The better option was Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. Now you're just looking at it going, well, you got to test out Russ. Didn't work. You got to try to get Justin Fields. That didn't work. Well, now you get Mason Rudolph back and you see if things can improve. That's how I view that situation. All right, let's keep it trucking here. Stephen Cornfield, what are both of yours favorite quarterbacks in the Steelers or for the Steelers next year in next year's draft? What would it take to get there? This is a great question because I think everybody is looking ahead to next year. What are your quarterbacks, or what is your quarterback?
Oh, man, there's a lot of names in there. I mean, let's see what Arch does in a bigger sample size. I think he's interesting. Obviously, the very limited sample we've seen looks great. Lenore Sellers out of South Carolina, man, what a fun player he is. He is so hard to take down. If you watch the late season tape for Cade Klubnik, it's good. Like, the late season Cade Klubnik tape is good. From a raw tools perspective, I think he had a rough year last year. From a raw tools that could turn himself into something, I think Nico Iamaleava is a really fun player from Tennessee as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of different guys, man. I didn't even name, Garrett Nussmeier, Drew Aller. There's a lot of different names you could throw in there. But I think my favorite right now would probably be Klubnik. I really love his late season tape for the Steelers, realistically, because they're like, listen, if Arch comes out and is this stud, they're not going to have a chance at Arch. Man.
No, there's no chance.
Klubnik could be that QB 3-4 type that is really good in a really deep quarterback draft that they could go up for. And I mean, that would cost them a lot. That could cost them a 27 first, but certainly will cost them multiple day 2 picks. But that's why, of course, they have built up their compensatory pick war chest.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great name to drop here because I've been real big on Nussmeier. I think that he's got all the tools that you're looking for, but I also think he's going to be quarterback 2 when this is all said and done. And I think that might be too high for the Steelers. There are other names. I expect them to make a move into the top 10, just like you said. All right, Grayson the Ginger here. Hey, Noah, thanks for getting my call in last minute today, of course. Out of curiosity, if Aaron Rodgers makes a surprise appearance on the McAfee show, how long would Pittsburgh boo him? Do you think that we've reached that point where fans have crossed the line and they just will not like Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know. I have a hard time thinking they'd boo Rodgers. I do personally. I think there's a lot of online disdain for him, but in that environment, if he gets booed and announces he signed with the Steelers, and what a wild scenario that is. But I think everyone's a little, I think everyone right now, maybe they have a lot of pent up anger because the Pirates are just having a PR disaster class this week.
That's true. It's very true.
Maybe that's what's going on, but I don't think they'd boo him. But hey, I don't know. I would very much, Rodgers signing at Big Night Out would be very, very much on the hand for Aaron Rodgers.
It'd be wild. It'd be the worst possible outcome for the Steelers because it just says, I'm just going to put a stamp on everything that you've thought I've been this entire time, and it is not good. All right, we're going to finish it off with this one. Our boy Carl Spackler. Fun one. Keep, trade, cut. Sports betting, pizza and wings, or alcohol. Best of luck.
We're starting pizza and wings.
Oh, okay.
That's
over the brews?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very much look at me, bro. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
But second, I think the keep. I think I'd go alcohol and then cut sports betting. I'm not a huge sports bettor. I understand people are. That's not really my thing. Sometimes I have fun talking with people about props, but it's not really a thing that I do a ton. So that's for me, but I don't know where you stand.
I am completely on the other end of you, to be 100% honest here. I'm going sports betting all day. I think I'd trade pizza and wings. I think I'd be okay with that one. Alcohol is probably getting cut because I can't watch, like, sports has gotten to a point where if I'm not covering a game, I need to be betting on it. There's just one of the two. It's a bad addiction that I'm in. Pizza and wings. I mean, the world would not be the same without pizza and wings. Alcohol, I don't know, dude. Aaron Rodgers is coming to town, so we can figure something out. You know what I'm saying? I could find a way to replace the alcohol. I think he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve. All right. With that said, we are heading out of here. I want to give a big shout out to our boy Nick. Nick, before we let you go, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at FaribaghFB. Make sure to check me out there. Read the stuff over at PennLive.com and check out the YouTube channel, Steelers Blitz on PennLive.
Yes, sir. All right, we do one more. I want to make sure that Roger gets his question answered because he paid for it. Dylan Gabriel, not a QB1. Your thoughts on Dylan Gabriel, though?
I actually don't hate Dylan Gabriel. He's not got a great arm. He's small, but he has got some anticipatory potential. He's accurate. He's going to be a good backup in the league for a while, I actually think. He's very much, I know he's a lefty too, but he reminds me a lot of Kellen Moore coming out of Boise. And Kellen Moore obviously did last a long time in the league and then became a head coach. I could see Dylan Gabriel taking a similar path. So if you're looking for a backup, a safe backup that can give you that long-term potential, I think Dylan Gabriel would check that box.
I agree. I like him as a backup. The being small thing is the only thing that cuts me off with him. It makes me nervous, but if he's not your starter and he doesn't have hopes of being a starter, I think it changes. And then we'll finish it with this one. Unlimited Moonballs should have a moment of darkness when Aaron Rodgers signs. That is the way we'll go out of here. All right, everybody. Thank you once again to Nick. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. We're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts and find all my work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Check out Nick at Penn Live and the Steel Blitz, right?
Yep.
Steel Blitz podcast. Appreciate you as always. For everybody else, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.